motivations, we got them waiting. Took a little minute, was patient, but now we take it. Anytime we want this game, my situation is entertainment intertwined with information. Alchemist soul, how we move the tassel and roll. It's amazing how we can turn something brass to gold. And we steady making hits. Architect with the prop in the scripts. It's logical that the product will flip. My boy Chef did the lineup, I'm fresh in the bitch. Carnivorous podcast, the newest show on the list. DQ on the boat, so I'm rocking the ship. While the music gon' be dope and the artist legit. Hold my beard, concrete cord, then stepped in the door. See, that's my man and he reppin' for show. And true saviors a player with flavor. Lexicon Taylor, lines on point like a laser. We need that paper, we building the vault. Cause you niggas don't listen, y'all be waiting to talk. Lack accountability and try to make it our fault. But opposing us is trying to arm wrestle the hawk. You coming up short on your re-up, nigga we up. Really wouldn't want to be up. I kick my feet up, my beef is wagyu and my trunk is all speakers. Bills is all blue and my blunt is all reefer. With possible deniability, that boy eater. High quality whack juice by the liter. They like to call us ops, we got Oppenheimer features. That's the bomb out on the island just to teach you.
All right, what's up, everybody? I'm gonna do something a little different today. How many of y'all been checking out the Olympics? Now, I gotta be honest. The main reason why I check out the Olympics, especially the Summer Olympics, I like to see how the Black American athletes are doing. And to no surprise, they do well in the Summer Olympics. Let me give you a stat that I'm sure many of you guys probably don't know. Now, Black Americans make up 13% of the American population, but in general, they bring home 37% of the gold medals. So basically, the Black American athlete is outperforming their population, the percentage of their population, right? So in other words, it demonstrates the importance of the Black American athlete in the Olympics. Just imagine, if you check out the medal count, if you go back in recent years, maybe you could start from 2008, and you will notice that the first week of the Olympics, the medal count, America falls somewhere between maybe 3 or 4. But as the second week progresses in the Olympics, the number of gold medal count goes up. And normally the United States is in the lead. China sometimes is in the lead as well. But the point I'm making is that the events like track and field, boxing, basketball, mainly those sports, and now you could go with even gymnastics with a person like Simone Biles. And so this is the week where America shines, and it's because of the Black American athlete. Now, the question I have is, how can Black people leverage this importance to athletics in America to benefit Black people as a whole? Now, unfortunately, we haven't been doing a good job of doing that. Now, let's talk about reparations. The reason why we don't get reparations, or we're having a problem with reparations, because we don't have any leverage. How do you get people to give you something if you don't give them any leverage, if you don't provide any leverage? So what I'm proposing is the African American athlete using their leverage in a way that will move the needle. Okay, so now this is a hard ask for the Black American athlete. They all have aspirations, especially if you're an Olympian. If someone were to tell you you can't go to the Olympics, you would be upset because you trained so hard for it, right? I think it was 1980 that Carter, he boycotted the Olympics of that year, and our athletes couldn't go to Olympics. So it's nothing that is unheard of doing. It's basically a sacrifice, and it's to make a point. Now, we have to be willing, I think, as Black people, to make those hard sacrifices. And when it comes to the idea of reparations, are we willing to say to the Olympic Committee, listen, we're not gonna perform for you guys anymore. Now imagine after the, let's say this year, the Olympics of this year, imagine if the black athlete said, we're not going to do the Olympics unless we do something about reparations for our people. And then you follow that up with the NFL and then the NBA. If black people were on code, is it possible that we can move the needle in a way that will at least put the issue on the table in a very significant way? Now listen to this. We had a good example of that with Colin Kaepernick. This was one man, right? One person who was basically on an island by himself, and look what the ruckus that he caused, right? Imagine if all black people were on code and said, listen, we want this, we deserve it, it's owed to us, and we're not going to do nothing until you guys address this. This is what I mean by leverage. Now, I know it's unfortunate. A lot of people won't do that because they want the big house on the hill, and they want the big fancy cars. They want all of those things. And it's hard to tell a person, hey, don't do that. But I would think other races would do that for their people and their cause. And it's about time that black people do the same thing. Again, I know it's a hard ask to ask the athlete, but I'm trying to figure out what leverage do we have for reparations. And the reason why I came to this conclusion is that when I saw the survivors of the Tulsa, Oklahoma riots were denied reparations, and here these people literally went through hell. Think about all the generational wealth that was lost, right? Never to recover. And the courts deemed that they weren't eligible for any reparations. So the idea of reparations for all of us seems bleak. And this is why I'm thinking, wow, maybe we can use our athletes possibly to move the needle. It's just a thought out there. But let me give you an example why I think the athletes should take this stand, because it talks about a history. Now, you remember, I think her name was Laura Ingham on Fox News. LeBron James, right? He had complained about someone writing on his house, right? Some like the N-word and everything like that. So he talked about it, right? And then Laura Ingham on Fox News told him to shut up and dribble, right? So apparently, white people, or I would say the larger society, or those who are in favor of white supremacy, don't think that black people have a voice or should have a voice, but they only love them for their entertainment value. And this is what we're up against. And as long as I think we identify who we are and who they see us as, then we could try to maneuver it in a way that it will benefit us. Now, this whole thing about just dance or just dribble, just entertain, this goes back many years. We could talk about Jesse Owens, right? Now, let me tell you about the significance of Jesse Owens, right? Here's a guy who went to the Berlin Olympics in 1936 and showed Hitler that the Aryan race wasn't the superior race, right? Now, not only did Hitler not shake his hand, we expect that, but did you know that his own president of the United States wouldn't even shake his hand? Now here, Jesse Owens, an American citizen, right? And went over there to represent his country. Yet, when he wins the gold medal, he comes home and his government doesn't even recognize him. But that's just one instance in a long history of the Black American athlete and how they're disrespected in America. For all that they do, they're still subjected to disrespect. Now let's look at Joe Louis. Now, Joe Louis is an interesting person, called a Brown Bomber, right? Here, he's not only, okay, it was around, I think it was 1938. This was his second fight with Smash Smelling from Germany. This was the period of time when Germany was in the World War II. And of course, the United States didn't like that, right? And so what they did was they thought it would be a good idea for Joe Louis to revenge the loss, because earlier, I think in 1936, Joe Louis lost to Max Schmeling. So this was the rematch in 1938. And so it was billed as America against Germany. All right. So the fight was in Yankee Stadium, New York, and Joe Louis revenged that fight. And of course, Joe Louis was a hero. Shortly after that, Joe Louis goes into the military. He does a whole lot of boxing exhibitions. He donates $400,000 to the I think it was the Navy Relief Fund, a few $100,000 to the Army Relief Fund. Good nature, provided for his family, provided for his friends. But at this time, there was a tax levied against him, right? They wouldn't even allow him to use the money he donated to the government, which was the Navy and the Army, and deduct that from his taxes, his debt. They wouldn't allow him to do that. So here's a man who given so much to this country, represented this country, yet this is how they treat this brother. So here's another example of the disrespect of our heroes, our athletes in America. Now we could go back, let's talk about Muhammad Ali. There's another good example. Now Muhammad Ali, he fights for his country, wins the gold medal. Now, before he went to Olympics, he wanted to eat at the luncheonette, or whatever they call it down there in downtown Louisville, right? But he couldn't eat there because blacks were not allowed to eat there. But he was so sure that if he went to the Olympics and won the gold medal, white people would see him differently and will allow him to eat in the luncheonette. To his dismay, he comes home. He goes and enters the white establishment. They refuse to, honor or feed him or give him any food. So he is so pissed that he throws his Olympic medal in the river. So he's disillusioned with America. So it showed him that no matter what you do for this country, they will not respect you. This reminds me of a movie called A Soldier Story. I'm sure a lot of people saw this movie called The Soldier Story. And there was a particular scene, I think it was an excellent movie because it had a whole lot of messages in it. But it was interesting that Sergeant Waters, the character Sergeant Waters, he was under the impression that if you got rid of the country Negro or the step and fetch Negro, and in this case, in this particular movie, the actor who plays CJ was that country bumpkin, and Sergeant Waters saw him as a problem for the black community. He said he figured if he could get rid of as many step and fetching Negroes, white people would see black people in a different light. So he was under this impression, if I could just get rid of all of them, the world will be better for black people as a whole. So he sets up, there's a scene where he sets up CJ, he plants a gun under his bunk, and CJ reacts, said, well, hey, that's not my gun. And Sergeant Waters said, well, yes, it is. And CJ reacts and hits Sergeant Waters. So there's a scene where CJ is locked up and Sergeant Waters says, I finally got you. I finally got you. People like you, we're speaking to CJ, is basically an embarrassment. I'm paraphrasing what Sergeant Waters is saying to CJ. And he figures that's one down, there's more to go. And if we just get rid of you guys, white people will respect us. And so this is the problem. We think as Black Americans that if we do the right thing, represent our country, wave the flag, show the country that we're just as American as anyone else, they will see us differently. But the truth of the matter is, they never will. They never have. That's the basic issue that we're dealing with in terms of Black Americans in this country, in terms of athletics. Now, that's why I said, is it possible if the Black athletes understanding these dynamics would say, you know what, we deserve better. We've done so much more for this country than the country has done for us. We're not going to represent you until you give us what we're owed. Now, we're owed this. It's not a handout. We're owed the reparations. But the problem, the reason why we don't have it, we don't have leverage. We tried the guilt thing. We said, well, listen, look how you guys treated us. Don't you feel guilty? And what do they say? They say, it wasn't us. It was those people back then. Why should we pay for what they did? Right? Now imagine going to future Olympics, or let's take, for example, the next Olympics, and we said, well, we're not doing it. Let's say the NFL said, we're not doing it. Let's say the NBA said, we're not doing it. There was a time back in the day when I was growing up, there was many Black American baseball players. Imagine if, well, now they hardly exist now. But just to show you how great Black Americans were in baseball, if you look at the top 10 home run hitters of all time, I think 5 or 6 of them are Black Americans, right? So that just goes to show you how prolific we were. And this is why they recently started adding, or I don't know if they added it yet, but I think they're going to add the stats from the Negro League in order to demonstrate that this league was on par with the American League. All right. And so we have a great history and an allegiance to this country that is not respected in turn. And so I know it's a big ask to ask athletes to make this sacrifice. But when you think about people like Dr. King and the sacrifices that he made and the people during those times made, I think it's time for us to stand up, and those who can't stand up should stand up. Now, again, it's easy for me to say I'm not an athlete. I'm way past my athletic days. And I know it's hard to tell an athlete who's been training for years for a particular moment in time to say, don't do it. But again, I have to stress this. I think if this were Hispanics or Asians, I think they would do it. If it meant the betterment of their people, I think that they would do it. Unfortunately, Black people tend to, more or less think of themselves and I got mine, you get yours, that kind of attitude. So the idea, if we continue to have that kind of mindset, the idea of getting reparations is a long shot. Now, I'm of the impression that maybe we shouldn't even be trying to get reparations. Maybe we should be doing for ourselves. Like Farrakhan used to say back in the day, I'm sure he still says that, give us a territory and, and we'll do our thing. And we have proven historically of doing such, doing exactly that. There were more than one Tulsa, Oklahomas. There was more than one Black Wall Streets in this country. The problem is that when Black people do for themselves, because of white supremacy, these communities are sabotaged. Because let's face it, white supremacy affects white people in a way where they see they can't see themselves not doing better than Black folks. So when Black folks are doing better, that's a problem. So they have to find a way to sabotage it. So I feel like this. Listen, if you don't want the help, or you don't feel like you have to owe Black people reparations, let us build our communities. You allow other groups to build their communities. You got Chinatowns, you got other immigrant communities that are flourishing, and you don't put your hands on them. But the moment Black people try to do the very same thing, there's always a way to sabotage. There's always some effort to sabotage it. Now, I understand what's going on. The actual issue is this. Black people have been designated as the permanent underclass by this government. We are the people in which other minorities can come here and build their wealth, because they can't build their wealth in white communities. So they said, well, listen, immigrant Asian or immigrant Arab, you want to come to America and set up shop? I got a place for you. You can do it in the Black neighborhood, because we're not going to give them loans, but we'll give you the loans. We'll give you the tax credits. We're not going to give them the tax credits. This is the game. So we have to figure out a way in which the government does not continue to make us the permanent underclass where other groups make their wealth off of us. So this is how I look at it. So it's simple. If you want reparations, I feel like this, we have to provide leverage. And if someone out there that could tell me what other way we can do it that hasn't been done already, I'm open for that. But so far, no one, like I said, the guilt thing is not going to work. It's never worked. You got people just coming here saying, you guys don't, you don't want reparation. If you want reparation, go back to Africa. Get out of America. They're telling us who built the country to go somewhere else. So that's what you're dealing with. So we got to figure out a way to move the needle, provide leverage. And so, like I said, if there's anyone out there that has another way of doing it, if not, then the people who are in our community who have the finances, the Oprahs, the Tylers of the world, the Jay-Z's of the world, all these millionaires in our community, why aren't they investing in our community? Why aren't they, lobbying political figures in Washington, D.C. to set up Black Chinatowns, as it were, in all Black cities around the country? Why isn't that happening? That's a form of reparations. Give us tax breaks. Give us slots of lots in different communities where we can build our own infrastructure for our own people. That's what we could be doing. But that's not being done. That's not being done because we're all individuals here in America as Black people. We're just individuals. We don't think as a group. So it's time. It's time. Wake up, Black folks. Let's build our own kind of Chinatowns in every city. Set up shops and grocery stores, things that we could be doing ourselves. We could do this ourselves. There just has to be a will to do it. And I wonder, where is the will? Or are we just going to continue to be individuals? So that's my call to those who have it. And if we're not going to do that, and if you want to levy or leverage the government for reparations, then someone has to make a sacrifice. Someone has to do something bold. Who's going to do something bold to make it happen? Going out doing rallies is not going to do it. All they're going to do is give us lip service. Something has to be done. Take a stand. Be like Holland. All right? There should be Millions of colonists willing to take a stand. Now, see, I know what, speaking on colonists, let me tell you what the tactic is. Because we didn't stand on coal, and because we didn't stand with Colin, and this was basically about what do you call it, police brutality, because he was protesting against that. But I'm talking about in terms of reparations, but his fight was police brutality. Think about if it was successful, how far that would have went. It probably would have led to reparations if we was on coal, right? So what the owners did was exactly what the slave master would have done to an unruly slave. They would gather all the slaves and put the Negro who was acting the fool, they would put him on a tree and whoop him almost to death in front of all the slaves. So they would see, hey, if you get out of line, this can happen to you, right? It had gotten worse in other instances where they would kill them, chop off the head, put on the stick on the field. Say, you walk by and see that head on a stick, you think twice of doing something crazy, right? So that's what they did to Common. They basically did that to Common. Those slave owners in the NFL said, we're not going to give you a job. We don't care how good you are. You're never going to work. And guess what? All the Negro ball players, all the slave-minded Negro ball players said, I ain't going to do what Colin did. I ain't going to do that. Guess what? We still got police brutality. Police still killing us. Nothing's changed. And it's not going to change until we get on coal. That's my plea to our people. Please, please, please. It's time. We have to get on coal for our people. If we're not going to get reparations, let's get on coal to help each other. Build communities, build other Black Wall Streets around the country. This could be done. If there's a will, there's a way. All right, so that's all I have for you guys tonight. Just something short to get you guys, knowing what's up. All right, so the next time, peace.
We gotta wait. What? Took a little minute, was patient, but now we take it. Anytime we want this game, my situation is entertainment intertwined with information. Alchemist soul, how we move the tassel and roll. It's amazing how we can turn something brass to gold. And we steady making hits. Architect with the prop in the scripts. It's logical that the product will flip. My boy Chef did the lineup. I'm fresh in the bitch. Carnivorous podcast, the newest show on the list. DQ on the boat, so I'm rocking the ship. While the music gon' be dope and the artist legit. Hold my beard, concrete cord, then step in the door. See, that's my man and he reppin' for show. And true saviors a player with flavor. Lexicon Taylor, lines on point like a laser. We need that paper, we building the vault. Cause you niggas don't listen, y'all be waiting to talk. Lack accountability and try to make it our fault. But opposing us is trying to arm wrestle the hawk. You coming up short on your re-up, nigga we up. Really wouldn't want to be up. I kick my feet up, my beef is ragu and my truck is all speakers. Bills is all blue and my blunt is all reefer. With possible deniability, that boy eater. High quality whack juice by the liter. They like